Hi everyone, welcome to Leisrealtalk. I have a new camera today. It's wide angle, so you see more of me. Huh? I feel better. I feel like uh, I'm not so close to the camera. I hope this image of me as the presenter is more is better for you. But anyways, the resolution isn't as nice as my iPhone. Anyways, okay, let's give it a try. All right, we're going to talk about Xi Jinping's cheating ministers. Since the end of last December, in just about 6 months, Xi Jinping has sacked 12 senior PLA leaders, including 2 past and present defense ministers, 3 past and present rocket force commanders, and 1 former Air Force commander. And that's unprecedented. But we know very little about what caused the downfall of these generals, and Beijing didn't provide any information. The most dramatic downfall are China's 3 ministers. The first was the former foreign minister Qin Gang, who disappeared last June. Then Defense Minister Li Shangfu disappeared. Rumor has it that Li's predecessor Fenghe also was sacked. This week, on June 27th, 2 days ago, Chinese state media released 2 major announcements. Former Chinese defense ministers, actually, I have pictures of them. Yes, there they are. They were officially expelled from the Communist Party. They were kicked out of the party and the PLA. They're stripped of their military ranks and disqualified from the membership at the 20th Party Congress. Both are being handed over to military judicial authorities for prosecution. The 2 announcements were brief and similar. However, a careful study gave us invaluable insights into Xi Jinping's troubling relations with his senior leaders, military leaders, and his questionable grip on the PLA. So we'll talk about why Xi Jinping removed Li Shangfu and why he took down Fenghe, who is already retired. And we'll talk about the possible trouble, the rumored troubled relation with his CMC vice chairman, Zhang Youxia. And also, last but not least, we'll talk about what might have happened to Qin Gang. So first of all, the official announcements regarding the expulsion of 2 former defense ministers are brief and similar in its language and tone. So they issued 2 separate statements. It was not like one statement, talking about both. There were 2 separate statements. But the 2 statements were issued simultaneously. So the simultaneous handling is a common practice of the CCP. This sends a strong signal that their cases are related, and the main criminal activities are likely interconnected, and they may be part of a larger investigation. So that's my first observation. Next, the subtle differences between the 2 announcements have revealed some astonishing details. We'll go over them. And these details indicate that their cases may involve even more complex stories and higher level military officials. So according to the announcements, Li Shangfu was officially investigated by the PLA's Discipline Inspection and Supervision Commission on August 31st last year. And the investigation stemmed from, quote, clues found during the investigation of other cases by the Discipline Inspection and Supervision Commission. This indicates that Li was implicated during the investigation of another case or other cases. The same thing was said about Fenghe, who got into trouble due to, quote, clues found during the investigation of other cases. However, Wei was officially investigated on September 21st, 3 weeks after Li's investigation started. Since their cases are interconnected, a reasonable hypotheses is that Li was implicated during the investigation of the rocket force, and after Li was targeted and interrogated, he implicated his predecessor, Wei Fenghe. Um, Comparing the descriptions of their wrongdoings, we see their political charges are almost identical. Both are accused of, quote, seriously violating political discipline, failing to uphold the political responsibility of strict governance, and resisting the party's disciplinary dis- disciplinary scrutiny. Somehow I think this last phrase, resisting disciplinary scrutiny, is still a very gentle translation than the Chinese. Because in the Chinese, it's not just resisting, it's 抗拒. So it's more like, it's like counteracting, right? It's more than resisting. Because resisting could be mild, you know. I resisted the urge to, go see a movie. I mean, that's resisting as well. But here, 抗拒 is almost like you want to fight back. Anyways, so so um, so it means that the two ministers were difficult during the investigation, and they weren't cooperating or not cooperating fully with the authorities. Li Shangfu is accused of illegally seeking HR benefits for himself and others, whereas Wei Fenghe is accused of illegally seeking HR benefits for others, omitting the words for himself. So, what does illegally seeking HR benefits mean? It doesn't mean they were trying to get more vacations or bonuses from HR. It's not what we understand here. It's a typical CCP jargon, trying to make a serious crime or violation sound less severe. It basically refers to buying and selling military positions. That's what it means by illegally seeking HR benefits, either for others or for yourself. So since Jiang Zemin's time, buying and selling military ranks and position has been a common practice in the PLA. It was reported that every military rank has a price tag. PLA leaders use their power to appoint people in exchange for money. To seek a promotion, an officer must prepare a sum of money and offer it to the superior in charge of promotion. Such is called illegally seeking HR benefits. There's another type of HR practice involving personnel transactions between factions, where allies support each other's appointments, forming political alliances without involving money. This is more subtle. So basically, you hire my people, or you hire one of my people, and I'll hire one of yours, and we'll form a secretive political alliance. So it's an under-the-table political maneuver that technically doesn't violate any rules because it's under the table, but it threatens Xi Jinping's control over the military. Therefore, he categorizes it as illegally seeking HR benefits. Both defense ministers might have made under-the-table deals to install or implant people from other political factions in key military positions and made a lot of money doing so. And this has certainly infuriated Xi Jinping. One distinction between Li and Wei is that Li Shangfu is implicated in bribing senior leaders to secure a higher position for himself, while Wei is only involved in selling positions. So it is highly likely that Li bribed a higher ranking official to promote him to the defense minister position, right? So in other words, he got the job of a defense minister because he bribed someone. But who could it be? Who did he bribe? His predecessor, Wei? That's unlikely because Wei was the exiting defense minister and bribing him isn't enough to secure the position. Defense minister is a member of the Central Military Commission, so it's one of the top seven um, members, right? It's the top, this one of the top seven, one of the seven members of the highest governing body of the PLA. So members of CMC are nominated and approved by the two vice chairmen and the chairman. Well, Xi Jinping is the chairman. So Li Shangfu must have bribed one of the two vice chairmen, and most likely Zhang Youxia. Let me show you a picture of him. There's the very sad-looking Zhang Youxia. So it's well known that Li Shangfu was once a trusted subordinate of Zhang. In 2014, Li Shangfu appeared for the first time in the public as the deputy minister of the General Armament Department when Zhang was the minister, right? Zhang was the minister and Li was his deputy. And in September 2017, Li Shangfu succeeded Zhang to become the minister of the equipment. It's called Equipment Development Department. The name was changed during the military reforms. So he succeeded Zhang. And also the close relationship between Xi Jinping and Zhang Youxia is another reason why Li is certain to have bribed Zhang. It's widely known that Zhang's father fought with Xi Jinping's father during the revolution, and they were comrades in the same faction. This made the Xi family and the Zhang family close. Therefore, the person whom Li Shangfu has bribed to promote him to the position of defense minister is almost certainly the vice chairman of CMC, Zhang Youxia. So the announcements about Zhang and Wei both contain this phrase. It says, quote, "The investigation also uncovered clues and evidence for other serious disciplinary and legal violations." This phrase indicates that their cases are far from over and there's more. And Xi Jinping or the central leadership does not want to spell them out, here. But these people say this phrase which appeared in both statements undoubtedly set the stage for targeting Zhang Youxia, serving as a serious warning to him. Now, I made a program a couple of weeks ago, maybe months ago. Time flies. I think it must have been months ago, about the rumor that Zhang has already been internally controlled, 内部控制. And and since then, he had appeared twice. The last time he appeared in public was 2 days ago. Well, actually 4 days ago. It was on June the 25th. He met with the visiting defense minister from Saudi Arabia in Beijing. And so the question is, how could he, still perform these responsibility when he's 内部控制, when he's controlled, or how do you translate 内部 control? When he's controlled with limited freedom, right? He's not like arrested, detained. He's not like under surveillance, but he has limited. So 内部控制. So some people, is that conflicting information? So the fact that he was meeting, a visiting defense minister must mean that he's okay. He's fine. Not necessarily, because in the CCP's context, internal control, 内部控制, could mean that someone is being stripped of actual power, and two, he is having movement, communication, and interaction, or his movement, communication, and interactions with others are strictly and closely monitored on a 24/7 basis. And this is different from a formal detention or an investigation. So in some cases, the person may still be able to appear in public or serve other diplomatic setting to create an appearance of normalcy because the party needs him to. So Zhang's occasional public appearances do not necessarily prove that he's a free man. But formally locking him up will send shockwaves across the Chinese military and is certainly too risky for Xi Jinping. One example I can give you that kind of show you what this internal control means is Wei Fenghe, right? The one of the defense ministers that we're talking about here. He was officially removed for investigation last September, but his name appeared on a floral wreath at a funeral. His name appeared with other names on a wreath at a funeral of a senior CCP leader this May. At the time when his name appeared, some people believed that he was safe, that he was okay, but apparently not, right? So it means that the fact that his name appeared, or even he might have appeared somewhere, doesn't mean that he's safe. So even though Zhang Youxia is still active now or may appear from time to time, doesn't mean that he won't be taken down in the future. The two announcements have left room for more heads to roll, and Vice Chairman Zhang Youxia's situation certainly doesn't look too well. The downfall of Li and Wei is embarrassing to Xi Jinping and hurts his reputation because both ministers were trusted by Xi and promoted by him. Li had only been promoted to defense minister only for a few months before he disappeared, and Wei was a staunch member of the Xi faction. Now their political charges they're different, right? So there are a lot of similarities in the charges, but they're like their crime, the ultimate crime, or the ultimate mistake, or the ultimate fault that they were blamed were different. So Li Shangfu's charges are betraying original vows and mission, whatever that means. I'll explain. I mean, it's CCP jargon. Betraying original vows and mission, losing the sense of a CCP member. Losing the essence or the quality of a CCP, or losing the essence and the quality required by a CCP member, and also losing the party's principles. And then it goes on to say his actions have betrayed the trust of the party's leadership and military leadership. The party's leadership and military leadership means Xi Jinping. The statement doesn't want to mention his name. So basically it's saying that he has betrayed the original vows and mission he made. You know, in the West, you would never think anyways, original vows. It's just sounds a little, I mean, these CCP jargons are just crazy. Anyways, so what it means, original vows, or the original missions, is Xi Jinping's original mission is the so-called Great Rejuvenation of China, with the primary goal being the unification of Taiwan. So therefore, by saying that Li Shangfu betrayed the original mission and the vow he made to help carry out the mission, implies that he likely disagreed with Xi Jinping on the issue of military unification with Taiwan. As the Minister of Equipment Development Department, and with a background in rocket and aviation, Li is well aware of the capabilities of China's weaponry and missiles. So while Li Shangfu may not have betrayed Xi Jinping personally, he likely held different views from Xi on the issue of Taiwan unification. He didn't tell Xi Jinping straightforwardly because if he did, he wouldn't be trusted. But he might have expressed his view in private. So that's my interpretation of his charges, saying that betraying his original vows and missions. Now let's talk about Wei Fenghe. Wei Fenghe's charges are, quote, with his faith collapsing and betrayal of loyalty, his actions have disappointed the trust of the party leadership and military leadership. So he has disappointed Xi Jinping because his faith to communism or to CCP has collapsed, and his loyalty is gone. He has betrayed Xi Jinping. And so this is more severe, right? So this Wei Fenghe, is clearly accused of disloyalty. So the expression I just told you suggested that there's a clear evidence of betrayal and disloyalty. That means that Wei must have actively worked with anti-Xi forces, and this is even more detrimental to Xi. But the irony of it is, Wei Fenghe was widely recognized as the earliest member of Xi faction in the PLA. Xi Jinping was elected general secretary of the party on November 15th, 2012. About a week later, he hastily presided over a swearing ceremony to promote one general. During the Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao's time or eras, PLA promotion ceremonies were usually held on August 1st, the PLA day, and involved the promotion of multiple generals at a time. However, the November 2012 ceremony saw only one person promoted to general, and that person is Wei Fenghe. And the event, his promotion, was widely reported by global media. Japanese journalist Yaita Akio, who was born and raised in China, his native language is Chinese, he happened to be stationed. I mean, he was born and grew up in China, and then he went back to Japan to go to college, and he was trained as a journalist in Japan, and then he went back to Beijing. So he was stationed in Beijing at the time and covered the event. He said in a social media post that he still remembered he joked with a Western journalist at the time, saying, among the 30 plus generals, it's hard to tell who belongs to Jiang Zemin's faction or Hu Jintao's faction. But it's clear there's one person from Xi Jinping's faction, and that person is Wei Fenghe. So the fall of such a prominent Xi faction general and the potential downfall of the vice chairman, Zhang Youxia, right, a personal friend, somebody that Xi Jinping grew up with, can only mean that Xi has a loyalty crisis within the PLA. He has no one to trust. The power struggle within the CCP's military has reached a fever pitch. The accusations against the two defense ministers will leave all military leaders feeling insecure. This will undoubtedly deal a severe blow to the morale of the PLA. And the focal point of Xi Jinping's disagreement with his PLA leaders is military takeover of Taiwan. And in essence, the other serious disciplinary and legal violations that was not detailed of Li Shangfu and Wei Fenghe that were not detailed may be related to this. And they have caused a serious loyalty crisis for Xi. So Li and Wei's downfall was wasn't due to bribery or corruption, which are true. I mean, they have corruption problems. I mean, financial corruption problems, but those are minor issues in the scheme of things right now. Instead, it points to more severe, politically sensitive reasons that Xi Jinping doesn't want to disclose. It can be intelligence leaking, uh, anti-war rhetorics, and collusion with anti-Xi forces. And we can confirm this through the severe language used in the official characterizations of Li and Wei's crimes. I mean, it's the categorization of the consequences of their crimes. And they're identical. And it goes like this. Their actions caused extreme damages to the party's affairs, national defense, and military development, as well as the image of senior leadership, that's Xi Jinping, with extremely severe nature, extremely adverse impact, and particularly significant harm. So this short blurb used 3 extreme or extremely and 1 significant. And that's quite a severe statement. Now, there's another minister I want to talk about. Um, do I have a picture? Oh, here we go. Um, you know who that is. That's the former foreign minister Qin Gang. Here he's showing with his mistress, who started the entire the entire scandal. This is a Chinese saying, 红颜祸水. I know it's not politically correct to say that here because I could get myself into trouble, but it's a traditional expression that has been going on for a long time, meaning beautiful women could be the cause of many problems for men. Something to that effect, which is true in this case, right? So now the authorities expelled 2 defense ministers, but kept a tight lip on another minister, Qin Gang, who has remained mysteriously absent without any update. He was previously removed from his position as a state councillor, and in February at the National 2 sessions, he resigned, quote unquote, resigned from his CPPCC delegate. As of now, he is still a Central Committee member, and hasn't been announced to be expelled from the party. So Qin Gang's downfall occurred 2 months before Li Shangfu's, and the fact that Beijing didn't make any announcement in such a long time has left room for speculations. Some say the lack of formal announcement confirms the rumor that the minister has died. Others say Qin may be alive, but Xi Jinping hasn't decided what to do about him. And Qin, the minister, may appear in public sometime later. What do I think? Here's my analysis of Qin Gang. If the CCP never brings up Qin Gang again, it means that the guy is probably dead. If he's still alive, but has committed serious disciplinary violations or crimes, the authorities would have announced his crime just like they did with the other 2 ministers. Because if they don't, it's a morale killer to other CCP officials at all levels. Think about it. If a minister is alive but evaporates without a trace, how would other CCP officials feel about their future? Right? You have to say, well, what happened to him? What mistake did he make? Like if you punish him, you need to let us know. You can't just make someone evaporate if he's alive. Also, if Qin Gang is still alive, Xi Jinping has every incentive to show him in public just to dispel the rumor that he has killed the minister. right? If Qin violated serious party rules, Xi Jinping would punish him the same way he punished the other two defense ministers. But if he didn't violate serious rules, he Qin may appear in public. He may be demoted to a lower position just to show that he's not dead, because Xi Jinping doesn't want to be responsible for Qin's death if Qin is still alive. Um, I mean, he doesn't. Why? I mean, because the rumor has spread that the guy has died. So if he's alive, he would definitely make him appear after he makes up his mind what to do with him. So, so that's what. But if we don't hear about Qin Gang ever again, that's probably a sign that the man is gone. Um, because Xi Jinping doesn't want to remind people of him. Well, CCP's third plenary session of the 20th Party Congress will be held 2 weeks away from July 15th to the 18th. And we will soon find out if the former foreign minister is still alive. That's all I have for you tonight. Let me see if people have questions. Oh, I'd like to answer a question that uh, a subscriber sent me. He said he has family, he has friends, Vietnamese friends, who went to work in China but was detained, and sounds like they went through a lot of trouble getting him back to Vietnam. So his question to me was, if China has such a high unemployment problem, why would Chinese employers hire foreigners like Vietnamese? Why wouldn't they hire just local people? So my answer is, the reason is it's cheaper to hire Vietnamese laborers. Not only it's cheaper, um, it's easier to manipulate them and control them, because Vietnamese laborers, many of them who work in China are illegal. Um, a lot of the farmers who live near the border with China up in the north, during their off farming seasons, they like to do some seasonal work to make extra money, and going to work in China does make them make more money than staying in Vietnam. But working in China is illegal. So the Chinese employers take advantage of that, right? Because they are number one, cheaper than Chinese laborers, and number two, they're easier to control because these people are illegal. They can work for you like slaves. So that's why there are still a lot of Vietnamese go to China to work. Hopefully I answered the questions. Okay, let me see what people have for me. Let me go through the super chat questions. Let me get rid of this picture. All right. From CLT. Well, thank you for the donation. If she has no allies left in the PLA, are there any foreign forces left to support Xi? Are there any foreign forces left to support Xi? I don't even think the Russians are supporting him. Didn't Russia just send some weapons to the Philippines? I'm not sure what did they send. I missed the actual type of weapons, but Russia sent some weapons to the Philippines. uh, I think that certainly wouldn't make Xi Jinping very happy. So does he still have any foreign forces left to support him? North Korea? I doubt it. Putin willing to allow Xi and exile government in Siberia? I don't think so. I don't think Putin wants Xi in Siberia. Is China close to civil war? Xi retired Is China close to civil war? There are a lot of people who are up against the government, the communist government, but it's very difficult for them to revolt. Um, I think the civil war, we can't really say civil war because I mean you have the people, the poor people against the government or those who have power, right, to make their daily life more miserable. So it's those who have and those who don't have. And but it's very difficult because it's a totalitarian regime, and unfortunately, they have, I mean, despite the many protests that break out every day, um, the CCP still has money left. It still uses its financial resources to give people the financial incentive to crack down on those quote unquote troublemakers. So it's difficult for Chinese people to, um, but but things may be different. Yeah, she retired, live happily with his daughter in NYC. You think so? You think the United States government will take him in? You think he will live happily with his daughter in NYC? I think New York City will be. Uh, I don't know. I mean, if he announces the the dissolution of the party now, if he says, "I can't do it," this party, I'm done. I don't want to have anything to do with this regime. I'm done. I'm going to retire. And if he actually formally dissolve the Communist Party, I think he could live happily with his daughter. But other than that, I don't see how that's possible. But hopefully I answer your question. But thank you for your support. Okay. Someone said there will be no civil war with who? We Chinese too smart and too poor by choice. Um, but but within the CCP leadership, they could be fighting among themselves. I think the people, you're right, people are disadvantaged because they don't have any sources. But there are different political factions within the CCP leadership, and are they going to be fighting each other? I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it's going to happen right now, but it may. Etsy, do the smartest people become PLA officers? Are they patriotic or do they want to enrich themselves? Um, what's your definition by smartest? The Chinese so-called smartest people are utterly dumb if they come to the West because they're only smart in a certain way in China, and they cannot, I mean, their smartness will become their handicap if they try to survive in this society. So what do you mean smartest? I think really smart people are not in the PLA. And if they are, they're probably retired. If they're smart, they already figure out that there's no future for them there. And they may risk their lives and everything. So they might have just quit or retired or do something else. I think the ones that are still there, um, I can't say that they're not smart, but they want something. Either they, I've talked to I talked to a lot of Chinese people, and I found this one issue with them. They are very clear in their head, they're fully aware of the problem of the regime, of their society. They have observed, they're very astute observers of their own problems. And yet, when it comes to make the right decision for themselves to do something, they become too practical. They worry about material comfort and needs. And in a way, they lose the big picture because they're too calculating in trying to trying not to lose anything materially, right? So this is something that I've noticed in Chinese people. Like they want everything. They want best of both worlds. On one hand, they say, "Oh, this system, I can't stand the CCP," and then, you know, if you say, "Well, you can just come over to the US because your children are here, you have a green card," and then they say, "Oh, I can't, I don't because I still have this benefits in China, I still enjoy this privilege in China, I still enjoy that, and I'll be a nobody when I go to the US. I don't want to." So that's people want everything. And in the end, I think they will have nothing. I mean, life is all about making choices. What do you want? You can't have everything, but if you know what you want, you'll be happy. But if you don't know what you want, or if you want everything, you end up having nothing. The situation will decide your fate, right? You will be conditioned to the outcome of these unfortunate economic situations because you're not proactively making decisions. And this is, I think, so from the Chinese perspective, they're the smartest because they calculate everything to the last penny. They want to get every penny. But from my perspective, they're the dumbest people because they don't know what they want. you know so that's my answer to the question. All right. Okay. That seems to be all. I reached the bottom of the questions and I don't see any other. um oh, since we're on the subject, maybe I'll just tell you this. This is what, from June 17th, because I think it's important. From June 17th to the 19th, the CMC held a political conference in Yan'an, Shanxi. The state media said that this meeting was personally called by Xi Jinping. Now, at the meeting, Xi Jinping stressed the political challenging facing the military and emphasized the need to adhere to the party's absolute leadership over the military. And he said, this is a quote, he's citing complex and profound changes in the current international situation, national situation, party situation, not party, like CCP situation, and military situation. So it sounds like he's making public statements about this internal crisis within the PLA. And people say his choice to hold this high-level PLA meeting in Yan'an was aimed at two purposes. One is to establish his legitimacy within the military, because Yan'an is the base area established by his father and another leader, Liu Zhidan. So by going back to Yan'an, he is hinting at his red privilege or heritage, right? Because one of the challenges he has is many princelings challenge him because his father wasn't so high ranking. There are other PLA leaders whose fathers are more established than Xi's father. So he has this need to establish himself. So he needs to remind people of his red heritage. And also, Yan'an was the place where Mao Zedong launched a brutal, ruthless political purging. So by having a meeting there, Xi Jinping was sending a warning to the PLA leaders that he's going to be ruthless with them, with another political purging. So this is another sign to prove that this internal loyalty crisis is apparent. I mean, he even said it, right? Adhere to party's absolute leadership over the military. What's party's absolute leadership? That's him. That means you guys need to obey me, in an absolute manner, given the complex and profound changes in the current international, national, party and military situations. That's what he said. All right, that's just a little extra information. I thought that's helpful to our discussion. All right. Um, that seems to be all. No more questions. Okay. Um, okay, Nick Furry. Seems that Chinese culture and society is very particular about 从 or 不从, like obey or disobey. Disagreements or variations in thoughts are not encouraged. Encourage. Disagreements or variation in thoughts are not encouraged. CCP continued this practice using modern tools. Chinese culture is very particular about, yes, well, the Chinese culture is more about a collective harmony, whereas Western culture, particularly American culture, emphasizes individualism, individualistic existence, whereas Chinese culture is more about the community, the collective group, the collective decision. A sense of belonging is very important to Chinese. Like, I belong to this family, I belong to this community, I belong, like belonging to someone or a group is very important in Chinese culture. That's the purpose of their life. I mean, which is important. I mean, if you're an absolute loner, you could be extremely successful, but that still makes you feel like you're missing something in life. So the Chinese culture is always about how do we make our group harmonious, good, happy, right? So that's the essence of Chinese culture. So within that, when that's important to you, of course, how do you work with each other? So I don't look at it from a perspective of uh, obedience or the lack of obedience. It's not like the Chinese are being trained to be obedient, like to be subservient to the superior. I don't think that's the right way to put it. But we do put more emphasis on so sometimes we say we have to endure, because if everyone wants his or her voice heard, then it's going to be a discord. So we obey, we follow the others. There is that emphasis in our culture, which is a very good quality. I mean, it doesn't mean that in the old days the emperors don't listen to. It doesn't mean that the decision maker doesn't listen to the subordinates. But it's just a question of how do you build consensus and move on as a collective body. I think that's more important for the Chinese people. But the CCP has used it to its advantage by forcing the Chinese people to follow it. That's why the Chinese people work very, very hard, and they always blame themselves for the very tolerant, and they blame themselves for not doing the right thing. And I think the CCP has taken advantage of that. So that's my answer but it's a very good question. It's a very good question. But I'm not saying it's necessarily better. This quality also makes Chinese less transparent, because the Chinese people appear as introverts. They don't raise their voice. They don't let their opinions to be known. They don't say what they want. So when dealing with when Westerners deal with a Chinese, they can be confused because they feel that the Chinese are very complicated. We don't know, what does he or what does she think? Because in the Western culture, you let people know what you want. You let your views to be known. But for us Chinese, it's just very difficult. It's very difficult to say, I want this from you. It's just not part of our culture. And sometimes that could cause a lot of misunderstanding and confusion. So we suggest things, we make hints, but for a Westerner, they just don't get it. They don't get it. They don't know. And so there are a lot of misunderstandings in that area. I've witnessed that often, and I've made similar mistakes myself so many times. Um, so that's that. But the advantage for I think what's nice about the Western culture is it's straightforward. It's simpler. You don't play games. You just tell people honestly what you think and what you want, and and people will not hold grudges against you for being honest. And so interpersonal relationships are very simple and straightforward. So that's a plus. Uh, so that's a long answer to a question not related to the PLA. All right, let's see. Wow, a lot of discussions here. Maldeco Lay, is COVID-19 one of the main reasons why the West decoupled, or the rest of the world is just plain tired of CCP? I think there are a number of reasons. I think the COVID is one, but I mean, the West still hasn't brought up the issue of COVID with the CCP, right? Um, and I think it's a combination of factors: COVID-19, the war in Ukraine, and CCP's secret support of Russia in the war. That's another reason, and also CCP's ambition to take over Taiwan. So a combination of factors. All right, that's all. I have reached the bottom of questions, and there isn't any for me. So I'll end it here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope you like my wide angle camera. I know the resolution is low. The lighting isn't so great, but anyway, because the resolution is low. But I hope you enjoy this wide angle view of Lei and her and her background. People are still commenting on my background. Okay, that's all. Great hair. Okay, all right, good, good. All right, be well. Okay, great. All right, see you. Bye bye.